UFC 258, we have Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. This is definitely going to be a good one. Welcome to Boxing MMA Picks. As usual, I go by the name of Harris. I have Zan with me, and we are giving you our picks, our UFC research, our UFC opinion. Who's going to win? Which fights do you want to avoid? Which fights are worth the money? And, stay tuned until the end of the video for some picks that we're actually going to be putting on a parlay. In the meantime, UFC 258, Usman versus Burns. This is a 12-fight card. We have 7 fights on the prelims, so we got quite a bit to get to. Let's get right into fight number 1 in that case. We have Gillian Robertson versus Miranda Maverick. I do like Maverick on this one. I think these are 2 fighters with somewhat similar styles in that they both kind of dominate by taking the fight to the ground. They both sort of want to take the fight to the ground. When we think about Gillian Robertson, I mean, we know that's her MO, right? We know that on the feet, she does keep distance. She keeps distance. She kind of moves around the cage a bit. She finds her moment to shoot in. And of course, a ground specialist, she's going to have good top game, good top control, good submissions. She's a BJJ black belt. Definitely knows what she's doing there. With Miranda Maverick, I mean, a lot of the same things, right? I mean, she's a BJJ brown belt, but she has a really good ground game as well, real good grappling. I would say on the feet, she probably has the slightly better stand-up in that she's willing to engage. I feel her combinations are maybe a little bit more than Gillian Robertson's. And, I like her activity. I like her pace. I think Miranda Maverick maybe offers a bit more in this fight, maybe a little bit more tools. Not to say this is going to be an easy fight by any means, but it's really going to be up to, who has the grappling advantage. It may be Robertson, but I feel like Miranda Maverick in general maybe just has a bit more tools. I like her value. She's about minus 150 right now. So I feel pretty okay with this pick. I mean, tough fight for sure. Hard to go against Gillian Robertson, but I think Miranda Maverick maybe offers a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this is a hard fight to decide, because when you look at Robertson, we know that when it comes to the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, she's definitely on a different level than a lot of these female fighters. Even Brazilian black belt, she taps out, right? So she's definitely I think when it gets to the ground, she has good transition. She's able to definitely lock in a submission. I think she has the most submissions for anyone in that weight class. Fighting Maverick, though, I think this is the type of style that she has trouble with. And what I mean by that is a fighter that is physically stronger than her, a fighter that has knowledge of the ground game, and a fighter that has better stand-up. Just like she lost to Talia Santos, but I think a lot of fighters would lose to Talia Santos. So that's not a bad thing that Gillian lost that fight. But you got to look at that fight, and that's another thing where Talia was a stronger girl. She had the better striking, and she was able to basically win that fight. Like, she was able to use her strength and get out of a lot of grappling exchanges, even get the upper hand and piece her up on the feet as well, piece her up on the ground. So I think Miranda is not as good as Santos, but she does have a similar approach where she does have that physicality. She's very strong. She's going to be the shorter fighter in there, but she's going to have the much better striking. So I don't think the reach is going to be that big of a deal, because I believe that her stand-up is much better than Gillian. Gillian's striking has ways to go. And when you look at Gillian, she's coming to the UFC with this ground game, and she hasn't really moved to the next step. What I mean by that is a lot of these fighters come in with just wrestling, or they just come in with just boxing, or they come in with just jiu-jitsu, and then they learn. Like Gilbert Burns is a perfect example. Now he's knocking people out. There's wrestlers, Kamaru Usman. Now he's standing up with people. Now he's striking. Now he's getting that area as well, right? So Gillian hasn't done that. She's just the same Gillian. So I actually like Miranda Maverick in this spot. I think her physical strength is going to negate a lot of that grappling, big stand-up edge. And I think she should get this done here. Avoid the submissions, and I think she should win this fight.
Sounds good. Looks like we're in agreement there. Let's move on to fight number 2. we have Gabe Green versus Phil Rowe. Now, this is an interesting one. UFC debut for Philip Rowe. Somewhat of a UFC debut for Gabe Green as well. We know that he had a short notice UFC debut in his last fight. What can I say about Green? I mean, he's a pretty active striker. I like his boxing. Some solid kickboxing as well. Definitely throws a lot of combinations. Specifically, like his double jab. Look for that to be a factor in this fight. The striking defense is okay. I mean, he covers up pretty well. I would say maybe he can move his head a little bit more, but that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Showed some cardio as well. I mentioned that last minute fight that he had versus Rodriguez. Take a look at that fight. He, despite losing, he was sort of pushing the pace. It was a very close fight, and it was really, only until sort of the final moments of the fight until we sort of saw him slow down. And he took that fight on 9 days' notice. So this time he has a full camp. I don't think cardio will be a problem. Before his UFC debut, because of course we did not see it in the Daniel Rodriguez fight, in his prior matches, I mean, we've seen some grappling out of him, some clinch. I like his submission attempts. Definitely not clueless if this fight goes on the ground. As I mentioned for Philip Rowe, I mean, it's his UFC debut. A lot of movement, a very relaxed style to stand up, keeps good range. I like his top game. I mean, he's a BJJ brown belt. Definitely knows what he's doing on the ground. Uses his length. Almost gives me a kind of Neil Magny vibes on the ground with a little bit of ground and pound, and the way that he sort of uses his length to kind of keep that top position and keep that top control. What I don't love about him is, he kind of throws one punch at a time. He can definitely turn it up a notch when needed. I mean, watch his last fight. Definitely he can explode. That was on the Dana White Contender Series. But in that fight, he got dropped. So you got to ask yourself in that moment, what does the chin look like? He was dropped in that fight. He survived it. He stayed calm. He won the fight. So that's also a good test to see how he reacts to potentially being hurt. But it was the fact that he was dropped that might be a factor in this. That said, this one's tough, right? This one is a tough fight. I mean, the odds kind of show it. I probably stay away from this one. But what I will say is that I am a little bit more impressed with the consistent pace that Gabe Green provides. I think Phil Rowe maybe lands the better punches in this fight, or sort of has maybe some of the more highlight moments in this fight. But I do think that Gabe Green wins this one with activity, unless obviously Phil Rowe just explodes and catches him, right? So again, tough fight. I probably stay away if I'm betting. But if I am choosing a winner for the sake of the video, put a gun to my head, I'm going to go with Gabe Green on this one by a narrow margin.
Okay, that's fair. These guys actually have a common opponent. Okay, let's. Okay, I'm going to break down the fight this way. So I think that Gabe Green, he's going to want to keep the fight close. He's going to want to have him against the cage, get the double legs. He's going to go for takedowns. I've seen him go for takedowns when he sees that he has a big grappling advantage. And in this fight, he's going to have that advantage. So I can see him keeping the fight close, getting some takedowns. While Philip Rowe's looking to use his 7-inch reach, fight from distance. I'm not impressed with our boy Philip Rowe. And I'll tell you why. So Philip Rowe, last 4 or 5 fights. He beat Leon Shabazian, who's 7-1 on the Contender Series. She was 7-1 at the time. Leon actually lost to Gabe Green prior to that. So that was Leon's first loss, was Gabe Green, and then Philip Rowe beat Leon on the Contender Series. A fight that Leon won the first round, and I believe Philip won the next 2 rounds, and also finished him in the 3rd round. So he was 7-1. He beat Matt McKeon, who's 4-5. Andrew Hellner, who's 1-2, Cole Milani, who's 0-3, Josh Zuckerman, 0-1, Ian Brodsky, 1-1. Okay, that's his whole career. And Leon Shabazian was 7-1. That's his biggest win, the fight he had on the Contender Series. The UFC brought him in to lose. Leon Shabazian is related to the Shabazian in the 185-pound division that got beat by Derek Brunson. So that's his brother, and he's trained by Ronda Rousey's coach. So they brought him in to lose. They didn't expect him to win this fight. Because when you look at who Leon Shabazian fought, fought Philip Rowe, obviously. He fought a guy, Daniel McWilliams, 18-40. A guy, Tyree Carter, 0-0. Christopher White, 0 wins, 0 losses. He lost to Gabe Green. We know that. I just mentioned that. He beat John Nelson, 1-7. He beat Quinton Macatro, 9-20. I don't got to say more here. Like, this guy is, he has no wins on his record. He has 0 wins. So I like Gabe Green in this spot. I feel Gabe has fought the much better fighters. Just looking at his record, Richard Leroy, 7-0. Javier Garcia, 3-0. Chris Padilla, 9-2. Ivan Castillo, 14-7. Leon Shabazian, 4-0 at the time. Matt Haig, 7-5. So it doesn't. I know the record doesn't mean this person's gonna win the fight. But when you look at the style Gabe Green has, he's looking to finish this fight, to inflict damage for 3 rounds. And I think he's gonna get the finish here. I think he's gonna win this fight. He's fought the way better competition, and he has a big edge in the grappling. And I think he's gonna be the stronger guy in the ring. So I'm going to go with Gabe Green here. I think he's a level above Philip Rowe.
Interesting side note, both fighters, all of their wins have come by finish. So, you might want to take a look at what the fight ending inside the distance looks like and make a decision there. That's an interesting little side stat about that. That said, let's move on to fight number 3. We have Ricky Simon versus Brian Kelleher. Ricky Simon, man, that's a solid guy to bet on. That's someone who's been pretty reliable. I like what I've been seeing from him in his last few fights. Pretty complete fighter at this point. We know the smothering wrestling that he has. We know how much he goes for that wrestling. He's usually controlling the center of the octagon. He's usually coming forward. He usually cuts the ring off well. He definitely has a lot of pop in his punches. The boxing's pretty clean. I mean, there's a lot to like about him. For Brian Kelleher, we know he's tough. Decent stand-up. Definitely willing to engage, but no real deep dive necessary on this one. I'll be honest with you. I think Ricky Simon is just a bit better everywhere. I think he's bigger, tougher, probably has the better stand-up, definitely has the better wrestling. I think in terms of a blueprint of this fight, watch Brian Kelleher versus Cody Stamann, a bit of a blueprint. I know Ricky Simon has a bit of a different style, but just kind of take a look at how that fight went. I can see that sort of playing out in a bit of the same way, but Ricky Simon is a pretty confident pick for me.
Yeah, we got a good fight here. Ricky Simon, Brian Kelleher. I'm going to be quick. I like Ricky Simon in this spot as well, but I will say I think Brian Kelleher is the more well-rounded guy. So I'm going to be a bit more cautious. I will have Ricky Simon on a couple parlays. But I think Kelleher has the better stand-up. It's pretty close, but I think Brian has a better stand-up. Ricky definitely has a better wrestling, but I think Ricky's advantage in the wrestling is more than Brian's advantage in the stand-up. I just don't like that Ricky's a bit wild with it, and he leaves himself open for counters. Brian's is capable, just like Rob Font has some success there. So I'm going to go with Ricky Simon. But again, to me, I think Brian is a style matchup where he could make this competitive. He could defend a couple takedowns. He has a really good guillotine when you're going for the takedown. He latches onto that neck. He has a strong guillotine. But I like Ricky Simon. He has a real decision-friendly style. He wins decisions. He has the pace to go 3 rounds. And he's looking to finish the fight. But if he has to go 3 rounds, he will. So I like Ricky's heart. So I'm going to go Ricky Simon.
Interesting to note as well, undefeated in the weight division, right? So let's see if he can keep that one up and go 5-0 at that point. Let's move on to fight number 4. We have Polyana Viana versus Mallory Martin. Now, this is definitely a much closer fight than Ricky Simon versus Brian Kelleher, in my opinion. This one's tough. I'm gonna let you take the helm on this one.
Yeah, no problem. So we know Polyana Viana. She's a black belt. In this fight, who has better striking? I'm not sure. It's pretty close. I guess it's going to be who's better that day. Who's better that day. So when it comes to the grappling, though, we know that Viana definitely has a lot of submissions she can get, and she's really dangerous off her back. So she can definitely pull for an arm bar. She can definitely pull for a triangle. So these are things that Mallory Martin's going to have to be aware of. I like Mallory in this spot because I believe that she's going to have the better wrestling and kind of dictate where the fight goes. Again, the striking to me, I'm not sure who's the better striker. I'm really not sure. If I had to lean, I might lean Viana a bit because she does have I believe she's gonna have the reach and she has some good kicks. But I like.
Can't hear you there. Can't hear you there. Go ahead. Your audio cut off a bit.
Oh, sorry, man. Okay, so I said I like I like Martin to win this fight. I think she's gonna dictate the pace with her wrestling, and stay out of danger. I think if she just avoids the submissions from Polyana, I think that because she mixes it up well, and in her fight versus Cyphers, that showed me a lot of heart. She got beaten down that first round, and then came out second round, got that submission, and I believe Viana lost to Hannah Cyphers, right? So that's a common opponent. I know MMA math doesn't work, but I like Mallory Martin. I like her heart. I like her wrestling advantage in this fight, and I think she's gonna be able to dictate where this fight goes, kind of. And if she wants it on the ground, she'll keep it on the ground. But if she sees that she's the better striker that day, she's gonna be able to keep it on the feet and win that way, right? So I like her. I think she has a more solid path to victory. So I'm gonna go Mallory Martin.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the more solid path to victory because I do think Viana has maybe the slightly better stand up. That said, or even before I make my point, to some degree, I would say, be careful with this fight. This fight kind of reminds me of Mariana Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. We felt like Ribas maybe had the more complete tool set, the way I believe Mallory Martin has the more complete tool set. But we did see Rodriguez, piece her up, outstrike her, and really make a case there. So, that said, I think Viana maybe gives up. I've seen her give up takedowns. I've seen her kind of pull guard. And, you're dealing with somebody that also has a BJJ background. So it's not like she's going to just kind of get pulled into guard and then, get threatened with a submission, so to speak. So I like the point that you bring up. I think Mallory Martin, has a more consistent path to victory. I think she has a more methodical approach to the game. I think she'll have the better game plan. Tough fight, but I am going to lean on the side of Mallory Martin as well. We can see, very close odds on this one at minus 160. So choose wisely. This is maybe somewhat of a close one, but we're definitely both in unison picking Mallory Martin here. Let's move on to fight number 5. In that case, we have Belal Muhammad versus Dhiego Lima. Why don't you go ahead and take this one off as well?
All right, so Belal, we know what we're getting from this guy. This guy has pace. This guy, very well-rounded. He can go to the ground. He can stand up. He can strike. He can submit you, and he can go the full 3 rounds, and he can keep that pace the whole time. Now he's fighting Lima now. I know Lima, man. He's good. He's a good fighter. He has his brothers in Bellator winning titles while he's in the UFC, trying to get himself up the rank. But he's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat Luke Jumo. I think he lost that fight. He had a split versus Court McGee, knocked out Chad Laprise. I think Lima can definitely knock out Belal. I think Lima definitely has that power to catch a counter. So this is something that I think Belal needs to be cautious of is that power, and make sure you just be careful because Belal's gonna have a lot of success. I think Lima might be the better striker, but because Belal is more active and he throws more strikes in a minute than he does, I think Belal is going to be the more effective striker in this match. And again, he can go to the ground. Lima gives up takedowns. He has the pace to go 3 rounds, and I'm real confident in Belal. I think he's going to get this one done here. I think he's just, aside from the striking, I think he's clear cut everywhere else. Cardio, momentum, opposition. So I like Belal to win this fight.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see Belal winning, 2, maybe all 3 rounds. I think despite whatever advantages Lima may have on the feet, I actually feel, to your point, you mentioned it earlier, Belal has the more effective stand-up. I think for the most part, this fight will stay on the feet. I think Belal wins the kickboxing match. And to the point of 2 out of 3 rounds, maybe all 3. Belal has that IQ. He has the ability to switch things up. He has, a style that can win rounds in different ways. And I think he gets it done, for all the different reasons that you mentioned. So I'll keep that one short on my end. I feel, I feel just as confident actually in Belal Muhammad as you do. So I'm definitely in on that one. That looks like a good one for sure. Let's move
And
on.
if you have Instagram, just letting you know, I have Belal Muhammad on Instagram. Just find him on Instagram. He has one of the best Instagrams for UFC fighters. Like, he has shows, he does predictions as well. He has some funny content, like stuff he does on his own. So yeah, sorry to throw that in there, but if you have Instagram, add that guy. He's hilarious online, and you can see his training. Like, he takes his training every day. He's in training. He takes it super serious. So I'm confident I like him in this fight.
For sure. Extra little sidebar for the fight. Why not? Why not? Let's move on to fight number 6. We have Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez. This is another short one from me. I mean, I'm going Viera all the way on this one. He's undefeated. 6 of his 7 wins have come by submission. True specialist in jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, he's a black belt. He's a 5-time BJJ world champion. He has wrestling. He has combat sambo accolades as well. Real good takedown game. He's quickly going to switch from that wrestling to that jiu-jitsu. It's going to keep you guessing, keep you on the ground, threaten you with submissions, like I've mentioned with his wins. With Anthony Hernandez, what's interesting to note with him is that, most of his wins are via submission as well, right? Let's actually take a quick look at his record. So of his 7 wins, we have 5 of them coming by submission. But here's sort of the only thing you need to know that tells me everything about this fight. Like I mentioned, all of Vieira's accolades on the ground. By comparison, Anthony Hernandez is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. And if I'm not mistaken, Rodolfo's nickname is the Black Belt Hunter. So I think, Vieira for me is a pretty safe pick. I think he's going to sort of do whatever he wants on the ground. He's a big favorite. I think it's for a reason. I think this is a safe pick.
Yeah, with Rodolfo, he's definitely one of the highest level guys in jiu-jitsu. He's on the Maya Jacare level. He's on that high level where they won Brazilian championships and jiu-jitsu championship grappling titles. So he's on a completely different level. I seen Anthony Hernandez get swung around by that Marcus Perez guy. And Marcus Perez is a decent fighter, but he ate him on the floor. Like, he destroyed him on the ground. So I could see Rodolfo easily getting this fight to the ground. He's so big. Like, he's so physically strong too. He's gonna be the much stronger guy in this match. And one thing about these guys that do grappling in these tournaments, these guys can grapple long. So if this has to go second round, third round, if it has to, he's going to have enough in the gas tank to finish the fight, get at least a takedown, and stay on top if he doesn't get the submission. So, yeah, Rodolfo, this is an easy fight for him. But again, I think one thing though, I think Anthony Hernandez has a path to win. If he could stay out of the grappling and just keep it on the feet, he's definitely the better striker. But what I've seen from him, he's not going to be able to keep it on the feet, and he's going to get taken down whenever Rodolfo backs him up into the cage, even in the open, right? So I like Rodolfo here. I think he's going to get this one done.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on then to the final fight of the prelim. We have Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. We sort of know what we're getting from both fighters. Bobby Green is going to give you a bit more dynamic of a stand-up game, a longer fighter. Should be interesting that they have the same reach, because Bobby Green definitely fights like the longer fighter. I think he should be able to keep range, use his length, still kind of march forward when he needs to. We know he keeps the hands down sort of intentionally, and it's going to be up to whether or not he uses that speed advantage that he should have. I can see the front kick from Bobby Green being a factor in this fight. And, I guess I'll kind of leave the Jim Miller commentary for you, but I think Bobby Green all around here. I think Bobby Green is just the better fighter. I think he's going to be looking to kind of avenge a loss versus Thiago Moises in his last fight. Debatable decision on that one. I don't think he maybe feels like he can lose 2 in a row right now. And I like him in this position. I think this is a winnable fight for him. Jim Miller's a tough opponent, but I think Bobby Green is just going to be too much.
Yeah, I echo that. I think Bobby Green's going to be prepared for this fight. But Jim Miller, he has that ability to latch up a submission at any point in the fight. But I think Bobby's ready for this. I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns. I like his striking. I think he's going to be able to outstrike Jim Miller. And yeah, I think he fights longer. So, and he's the better fighter from distance when they're striking from distance, and arguably the better striker up close as well. So yeah, I like Bobby Green in this spot. Yeah, he should get this done. Um, I think Jim Miller's only way to win this is somehow latching up a submission from behind. Like he's gonna be losing the fight and then gets a submission and somehow wins the fight. But I see Bobby Green win this fight, like, as long as he just stays out of the submission for Miller. So yeah, I like Bobby Green. I like that. I like Bobby Green. But you got to be careful though. This is Jim Miller. He has
Yep.
done this before. He has done this before. He's like Arlovsky. When you think they're out of it, then all of a sudden, he lashes a submission. So you got to be careful with this one. I might put this on one parlay, but I'm gonna go with my boy Bobby Green to win that one.
And it's always interesting to note when both fighters have double-digit losses. That's always a sign to be careful. Anything can happen in some ways. We know Bobby Green should win, but don't overload this one on all of your parlays. Speaking of parlays, let's take this to Vegas. Let's see what we have in Vegas. What do we want to do? Let's start with. Do you have an underdog? Because I almost don't think I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the most likely, in my opinion, the most likely underdog that could pull it out here. I think that has to be Gillian Robertson, in my opinion. I think she has a path here to win this fight. So I'm gonna go Gillian Robertson as the likeliest underdog for me to win
Okay.
on the prelim.
In terms of my likeliest underdog, I'd probably go Polyana Viana. I mean, after that Rodriguez Hebas fight, I'm getting some weird deja vu for some reason. So I can see Viana winning the fight very much like the way Marina Rodriguez did. So that's possible. I mean, Mallory Martin's still my pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if Viana pulls that one out. Um, and what do we want to give him? Golden pick, or do you want to give him a little mini parlay for the prelims?
Let's go mini parlay. I got Ricky Simone
Yep.
and I got Belal Muhammad,
Yep.
and just throw on Vieira as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my exact parlay as well. So let's kind of stamp it as the official boxing MMA picks parlay of the prelim. 3 fights: Ricky Simon, Belal Muhammad.
But in my opinion, whoever they feel comfortable with, whereas Gabe Green or Maverick, whoever they feel comfortable with out of those two, do we want to research as well? You could throw in one of those, whoever you feel more comfortable with. I think to juice up that parlay. But
Yep.
again, do your research. But I think those would be the two fights to look at if you wanted to add a fourth one. But I don't recommend such big parlays. But
Yep.
in this scenario, you could probably play with that.
Yep. I mean, here at Boxing MMA Picks, we're fans of winning, right? Not necessarily chasing the payout per se. So even if you stuck to these 3 fights, you get plus 124 on that. $100 is going to return 225, so $125 return there. Let's kind of put a number in for our bigger betters. You put 500 on that, you get a return of $1,125. So pretty.
And they should get it done. Like this one, I feel comfortable with. I feel good with.
Exactly. I feel pretty good about this one as well. So let us know. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you think in the comments. As usual, like, comment, rate, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. That's gonna help us with the algorithms. We would greatly appreciate it. Let us know in the comments. What are your picks? Who's your most confident pick? Who's your underdog pick? Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree with our picks? Let's have a good conversation about it in the comments. In the meantime, main card coming up next, UFC 258, Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Let's make this money.
Let's do it.